We have just under 10 minutes for questions, so please, usual system, please keep your hand up. Barry, I saw you first.
Oh, thank you. My question is about free will, and it's more a comment around the question, because I find it hard to reconcile my understanding of free will with as far as I understand your interpretation, as actualization, or basically, is it correct, my understanding is correct, that you reduce it to a random process, essentially. It reminds me of one of the episodes of the Big Bang Theory when Sheldon Cooper outsourced his decision to flipping a random coin. Right. So the idea that there is a demon which flips a coin in my head, and according to the result I act, that's sort of not.
Well, no, there's volition. I mean, I would say that it's a case where you have a situation that requires a symmetry breaking. You have two possible solutions at least, one or more. You have more than one possible solution. There's no sufficient reason for any of them, but in order for anything to happen, a choice has to be made. Now, I'm not sure I would call that random. I mean, if you are a free agent, and if being a free agent in the sense of having volitional power, means anything, then you just say, I'm going to do that because I choose to. So why? I'm not sure why that would be random.
I'll try to be just short.
Yeah.
I think that the notion of free will is more subtle than that. I mean, there is a view that free will is our inability to predict probability distributions of our future decisions.
Sure, there's the control aspect. I didn't go into that, but yes. Yeah. No, you're right. There is more, and I think that there's nothing in what I've said that's inconsistent with that. But you're absolutely right. There's a control issue. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a long list of names here. We probably won't get through all of them, but I want to encourage people to try to be brief. Steve, your name.
Just a quick question on quantum gravity. So, I mean, it seems to be a reasonable constraint on a new interpretation that it should apply to things like quantum cosmology and quantum gravity. And it looks initially like this pre-space-time idea might fit certain, like the emergent models and, the idea that space-time isn't fundamental in certain approaches to quantum gravity. But then it's quite hard to see how it would link to the approaches of quantum gravity that we already have. I wonder if there's any thoughts about how it would give an interpretation of things other than just standard quantum mechanics.
Your question is, do I have thoughts about how that? But I'm not sure. I heard the last part. Okay. Is Raphael here? His work actually he has done from a different angle. He's been working on causal set theory, and I just recently became aware of this, and I do think that what I'm doing could mesh with what he's doing, and I think that's something he is focused on right now. But I can't really be more specific right now. Just that I see the transactional process as a way that his events, his causally connected events, could emerge. I mean, he takes them as, here they are, and I can show how they could be distributed in such a way that there's Lorentz invariance, there's no preferred frame. And I do think you can get that out of the transactional picture, so that's something I'm going to pursue.
Phil.
I just want, very quickly, I guess, understand a bit more about why you say it's not retrocausal. Is it the case that, in your view, there is not a hidden variable state which is dependent on the future measurement?
I don't think there is, no. I mean, in the growing universe picture that I have, you don't have anything in the future except possibilities. So the future is just possibilities, but they are objects that can participate in transactions, and once they do, then they are part of space-time. But obviously there's more to be said about that, so I can't go into it here, but it's in the book.
Ken.
So just now you said that in a block universe, there's no dynamics. It's all there and static. So I imagine that if your screenplay got made into a movie and you gave me a DVD of it, you'd be kind of frustrated if I looked at it and said, this is just a static thing. Nothing happens in this movie. You tell me, well, go put it in the DVD player and view it that way, and then I'd see what happened. How would you respond if I gave you the same advice? Now, if you have a block universe, you have to play it to see what I mean. So you have to sort of run it through frame by frame, and then the dynamics occurs.
Oh, yeah, then it's perspectival. Then it's an artifact of your motion through the block world. Oh yeah, well I understand that's the account, but you know I don't see that as really helping with. That's not a dynamics that's inherent in the block world. I'm just trying to channel Silverstein and Stuckey right now. You know, everything. You know, it's just there, and there's some account, I guess, on how people like creatures like us move through it. But to me, that seems kind of. I don't know how that's supposed to work. I mean, I don't think there's any real account for that. Now, maybe there is a way to understand that, but it just seems like that's an artifact of our motion through the world rather than an actual dynamical functioning of the world itself.
Peter?
Yeah, along the same lines as Ken. So you said that in a block world there's no causation and there's no free will. But the block world is what is the sum total of what actually happens. But a natural thing to think about free will is it's defined counterfactually. If I had done something different, then something different would have resulted. And the same for causation. So I'm not sure how the block world, which is just what actually happens, is going to constrain.
Well, I don't think that the counterfactual formulation really captures free will that well. I mean, there's a lot of discussion on that. I know that Michael Sloat has done work on that, and I sort of see. I can't pretend that I'm really well informed on that, but my impression is that it's there are some linguistic things you can say, but I'm not quite sure that they translate into anything that really is robust free will. But again, I'm not informed enough on that to comment.
Dustin?
Thanks, it was very interesting. I have a lot of questions about transactional interpretation. I tried to look at myself too. The first one, I'm wondering if you're breaking the time symmetry by the fact that there's one offer and one confirmation, or if you would switch the roles, so to speak. And the second question is if you could just say a bit more about what would that play the role of an absorber if you have a many particle state where the wave function is not something that can be thought of as existing in three-dimensional space. Yeah,
those are two really big questions. Let me see if I can remember the first one now. No, they're great questions. What was the first question?
If it's breaking the time symmetry.
Oh yes, absolutely we are. I have a paper called The Broken Symmetry of Time. And in my proposal, we have a growing universe, which is clearly asymmetric. My contention is that to have anything happen, you have to have a broken symmetry. You have to pick what is the direction that processes are going to go in. And so to have an actual world where things happen, there has to be a broken symmetry of time. And this is in our world, we just have this direction of time. Certainly something that can be debated. The other question, I treat bound states as different than offer waves. This gets into the relativistic, but you can have a system like a buckyball, or is that the kind of thing, or a molecule or something, that is not an offer wave. That would not be treated as an offer wave, but it can participate in transactions because its components can emit or absorb. So that's kind of the short answer to that, but obviously that's a big topic.
Avi?
I'll focus our argument on the simplest case. We were discussing it a few years ago. Actually, I'll continue this question. Simplest case, you have one photon going to a beam splitter and then you have two detectors. One of them is much closer to the beam splitter than the other, so they are separated time-like, not space-like. And what do you know? It doesn't click. Now, there are two explanations to that. I suspect that you would still invoke the confirmation wave coming from the other detector in the future, although it can still intervene and say it goes to another detector or to another star. Whereas I suggest that just as there is a confirmation wave, there could be a rejection wave. The detector says, you offer, what do you know? I don't want your offer. Go away, give it to the other guy, and then you don't have a problem with intervening and so on and so on. What's your point?
Yeah, you're kind of talking about a variation of the Maudlin challenge. I think Louis Malchidon has a nice response to why that isn't really a problem in terms of consistency. You have in a direct action picture, it presumes that there is complete absorption for all alpha waves emitted, and once you have that, there's no problem. But having said that, I'm happy to look into your idea. I mean, I'm happy to look at it. I'm not quite sure, how it would work, but I think John Kramer probably wouldn't like it, but I don't think he likes my possibilist picture either. So he does like it? Oh, well, okay. Something to talk about.
And one more comment. Rather than Jung's collective unconsciousness, why don't you consider Plato's thought, just as Pembroke is doing? Do you know the book by Bernardo Spagna, Veiled Reality or Veiled Truth, where he analyzes these things in Plato's world or in Popper's third world? Before you go into Jung, philosophy gives you some good ideas where to put those things which are beyond space and time. Better put it
Okay, very interesting.
I'm afraid we're out of time. I just wanted to say I do like Avi's idea of the rejection wave. I think it can be extremely useful in philosophical discussions. Okay, but please join me in thanking Ruth.